what type of writing do you think students at Montcrest tend to lean towards? Persuasive storytelling, monologue?
Oh, definitely monologues. Definitely monologues. When public speaking first started, everybody was doing research and writing persuasive speeches. And this goes back to when we changed the way public speaking was done here at Montcrest, is that I was teaching both grade 7 classes and both grade 8 classes, so I was teaching over 60 students. And I went to Miss Levere and to Miss Steinhauer, who was then the assistant head, and I said, if I have to read one more persuasive speech, I'm going to pull my hair out. I said, reading over 60 is too much. We need to change the way that we're approaching public speaking. So again, a small committee got together and we talked about how are we going to do this. So the grade 4s do research and the grade 5s do, they speak from somebody else's viewpoint, which is a monologue. Grade 6s do what's called spoken word, which is poetry, rhythm, rhyme, instruments, repetition like a chorus. The grade 7s do storytelling, and the grade 8s do, they can choose whatever they want because they've had the experience from grade 4 up, and they get to choose whatever they want. So judging from the grade 8 speeches, for the most part, kids choose to do monologues. They like speaking from somebody else's point of view, whether it's somebody they've made up, like a woman that they see walking on the street going into a bus, or somebody famous. I would probably say monologues are the most popular.
Do you remember your first introduction in the Montcrest School community?
Actually, I do, and in fact, it's my 16th anniversary because on Kite Day, I came for my interview, and that's when Mrs. Danson hired me to be a teacher here. So today is a very special day for me because it marks 16 years of being at Montcrest.
It's a good day.
Yeah, excellent day. It was sunny and it was just the right kind of wind for Kite Day.
What's your favorite part about Montcrest, working at Montcrest?
My very favorite part of working at Montcrest is the kids, believe it or not. I love coming in every day and seeing my students. And they give me energy, they keep me young, and that's my favorite part, is seeing my students and seeing the rest of the students at Montcrest. And for 10 years, Mr. Sherrard, who's not here today, he wasn't feeling well. He was in charge of yearbook, which meant making sure that pictures were taken of all the classes, making sure that any kind of club, there were pictures taken of the clubs. And what they would do back then, before we really used computers, well, they would take the pictures and they would cut them and paste them on a piece of paper. And then they would take those to a printer so that if you were, let's say, in Betty's art club, all the kids in art club, there'd be pictures of them taped onto a piece of paper. Now we're really lucky because we do it all by computer. So Mr. Sherrard did it for 10 years. Miss Steinhauer, who was the assistant head for a couple of years, she took it over, and when she went to have a baby, she asked me if I would do it for 1 year. Now, 9 years later, I'm still doing it. And the fun thing is I get to capture all of the memories of Montcrest in this one little book that goes home. So we take pictures of all the kids. You all get to say what you're famous for is. The graduates get to pick their famous quotation under their graduation picture. And we do it all by computer. And the borders are all hand-drawn. And in fact, Gabby, who's sitting behind you, has done a lot of the borders this year for the yearbook. And I think this yearbook is the best one yet. So every year you get a book of memories to take home with you. So when you're in grade 8, you can look back and see what you looked like and what you thought you were famous for in grade 1. So it's a lot of fun.
And then I opened my own daycare, and I had about 10 kids and an assistant, and I took care of kids. I always liked you guys. Something about kids. And then when my kids were growing up and the daycare closed down, I thought, what can I do with kids? And I decided I was going to go back to school. Do you know how old I was when I decided to go back to school? 47. probably older than a lot of your parents. And I went back to school because learning is something you never stop doing. Yeah. Is learning something you should stop doing? Listening. You can answer me this. Should you ever stop learning? No. So when I graduated from school and I got my teaching degree, I was 50 years old. So I came to Montcrest. I went into Montcrest for my interview because Miss Danson was the principal there. It was way up at the top floor, which is actually where I teach now. And I fell in love with the place. I went by the kindergarten room and I thought, oh, wow, this feels like home. Went past the grade 1 room, the grade 2 room, grade 3 room, because in that time it was only one of each and they were in that building. And I thought, I could teach here. And then they showed me a yearbook while I was waiting, because someone else was having an interview, and they showed me a yearbook. And it talked about the clubs. And one of the clubs was, I think it was gluing and cutting club. And I thought, I could run a club like that. So I went in there and I got the job. And I taught grade 2 for 14 years, except for a break teaching French. I think I'm most proud that I was able to actually get the job at an older age, because I was 50, and that I have never really stopped learning. And I love learning, and I love kids, and I think that I'm most proud that I've never let myself just stay the same, that I've always learned. And now I have a new job, as you know, as the writing specialist. I come into your classrooms and I have to study hard to do that. And I'm very proud of that, and I hope I never stop learning.
I'm most proud of my students when they learn something, when they find something new, when something unexpected happens. I'm proud of Gabby, who just, two of her poems were published in what's called Insight magazine, and it's a magazine for independent schools. And when I went to the lunch and I found out that Gabby and Claire Downey had been published in it, I just, my heart just went. I was so proud of them. And when my former students come back to me and they tell me how well they're prepared for their high school years and how much they enjoyed learning English and their accomplishments. So I'm the most proud of the kids that I've taught and how they've grown. And I'm really lucky because for the most part, I get to teach them in grades 7 and 8. I teach most of the students grades 7 and 8. So I see how much they grow from September in their grade 7 year to June in their grade 8 year.
And I think every teacher at Montcrest would echo that is really what I'm most proud of.
Miss Levere's notes tell me that the first Montcrest library was housed in the room that Miss Cathcart now uses. It consisted of some second-hand books that nobody wanted. Doesn't sound like a very active library and certainly not very big, but it would have had a nice window on the park, nice view. She says, I always had success in getting my grade 6 classes enthusiastic about reading. So in 1994, and let's see, how many years ago is that? Like 18 years ago? How's my math? Something
17.
Like that. 17, okay. When Mrs. Danson wanted to build a proper library at Montcrest, she asked me to do the job. That would be Miss Levere. This meant buying lots of books because there was hardly anything worth keeping from the old library. So Miss Levere set up the new library in what is now the music room. She used a card and pocket system to sign out books. Does anyone even know what that means? You've seen a few of those around. And sometimes if you take out an older library book in the current library that we have, you'll find one of those old card and pockets where you would have to take out the card and actually sign your name and password number on it and give it to the librarian. The only computer in the library was for looking up information on the new internet. I think that was before most of you were even born. Once Danson House was built, which was in 1998 or so?
It would have been 15 years ago.
Yeah,
15 years ago.
96.
Okay, so once Dancing House was built, we moved into our current library, and a year or two after that, we got a computerized library system. So that was probably, they must have felt like they were living in the space age, they'd seen so much change. Well, that's basically the origins of the library. So in other words, Miss Levere took it from 0 books to a collection of, we have about 10,000 books in the library. And every one of them, unless I've made a mistake, is on the computerized library system. I think Miss Levere must be extremely proud of what she's accomplished.
I remember, what I liked the most about teaching grade 2 was helping the kids in every way, not just with reading or writing or math, but making sure that they felt safe and happy and grew socially, that they had friends and so on, and that they felt safe in the classroom. And my very first year here, there was a little boy I had who was so painfully shy that he used to just freeze just coming into the room. And I felt so connected to him. I really wanted to help him. And he would not be able to read anything he wrote or anything from a book out to the class or anything. And he used to hide under his desk. He used to come in, scuttle in, and hide under his desk. He was so shy and nervous. And so I told him, I said, you're allowed to sit under your desk for 2 weeks. But after 2 weeks, the rules of grade 2 are that you can't hide under your desk. Do you think there was actually a rule like that? I kind of fooled him. So we marked off every day that he was allowed to be under his desk with X's. And on the day where he wasn't allowed to be under his desk, he sat at his desk. And then he couldn't talk in a group or read in a group, and we had to go to an assembly. And each child had to say something. We were talking about the Chinese New Year and everyone's predictions, the year of the rooster, the year of the pig and everything. And the only way he could do it, everyone was in line facing like you are. The only way he could do it was to be turned around facing the wall. And so that's what he did. He turned around and he faced the wall and he practiced and he practiced and he practiced. And when we went to assembly, because I said, sorry, but at assembly you have to face front. We went to the gym to practice and he faced front and he was able to do his little piece. So those are the kinds of things that make a teacher so proud that a child will grow. Well, that's the story.
I think every year we go to Quebec City with the grade 8 students, and I think that's my favorite time during the year because it's like I've spent about 2 years with those students at that point, and we're able to go out and just have fun together. And even though they keep learning, about the plains of Abraham, but we just go out and we have a good time together. And it seems just like a really wonderful way to end a time that all the grade 7 and 8 teachers have spent with the students that we teach.